All right, and that was Come and Get Your Love by Redbone from the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, and also a soft rock blend soundtrack. Why are we talking about Guardians of the Galaxy already? Because this isn't your typical radio show. This is Cinephilia Radio, and we are the cinephiles here to teach you about film and all things film. We are the film talk radio show, and proudly so, and we're happy to be here. We meet for an hour a week on Fridays, this specific hour to be fair, and we're here to talk to you about a lot of good things today, a lot of things happening in the film world. Last week we talked about a bunch of summer things. This week we're going to talk a little summer, we're going to talk a little new stuff, we're going to talk some movie news, we're going to kind of get back to basics and the usual swing of things. So welcome to Cinephilia Radio, and who do we have with us today on the other microphones?
I'm Ryan Bobell, film, television, production major, game minor. I'll only be here for a portion of the show, but maybe I'll have some good contributions.
And might I say that Ryan is wearing an excellent Pokemon-themed t-shirt today.
It's very loud. It's essentially a Pokemon route from one of the video games, and it's the entire shirt, and very weird.
I believe that's the route to Mauville, if I'm not correct.
There have been debates. I have yet to have any confirmations, but there have been debates about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that whenever I tell Ryan he was wearing the green shirt,
Right.
that is the green shirt I'm referring
You
to.
said there was a maze on the corner.
It looks like a maze.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can dig it. All right.
All right.
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, yes, I'm Paul, economics major, film minor, for now at least. And, yeah, good to be back. Good to be back in the swing of things. Got a fun new show.
It's a new show?
Well, we're fixing things, I like to think.
We're the fixer-upper cinephiles. I'm Troy Peterson. I'm taking it for granted my mic's on because, as usual, these two jacks aren't working over here by me. I'm a critical studies major, a dramatic arts minor, and I don't want to be fair to the other hours. This is the best hour of the day.
It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Is it?
Well,
Not here.
Mountain time.
No.
not right now.
Kind of 4-4.
Actually, don't start listening to us at 5, because then we'll be over.
Unless you're
Unless you're on mountain
Central
time.
Mountain time.
Yeah.
Mountain.
Those of you in the mountains, enjoy the happy hour that you must be experiencing right now.
All right.
You drunks.
Drunk
Excellent.
mountainers.
Well, all right. So,
What are we talking about?
What
Let's
is
talk
this, Paul?
about-
Are we ready to get started?
sorry, yeah, let's get started on our agenda.
Of
First
course.
up, the summer. Now, I think the only movie that we didn't really get to last time that I think we've all seen is the new X-Men motion picture,
Yes.
Days of Future Past, from the first one from Bryan Singer since X-Men 2, I believe.
Yeah,
I
Yes.
think that's correct.
Did he not do First Class?
He only produced it.
Yeah,
He
that's
came
what I
back as a
remember.
producer.
That was actually, no, that's a new thing, right? Because the director of First Class is doing Kingsman: The Secret Service, which
That
Right.
doesn't look bad.
It
some
actually
people
looks
are
kinda
very excited about it. I think it's based on a comic or something,
Yeah,
I want to
it's based on
say.
something British, but that's
Yeah,
Colin
it's a
Firth
graphic
and
novel.
Samuel L. Jackson.
So that'll be fun, coming later this fall. So how did we feel about X-Men? Troy, want to start us off?
Well, I'm a big X-Men fan, and I've been saying I'm going to reevaluate all the Marvel movies this year because there were just so many of them, and they kind of all struck me in the same way, but I mean, I'm a big Spider-Man, Captain America, and X-Men fan, and I think this X-Men movie... We're readjusting the mic here, folks. All
Okay,
right.
you can still talk.
Okie doke. But yeah, X-Men, I really liked it. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies of all time, maybe, but I think it's probably the best X-Men movie we could get from the franchise as it is now at Fox. I liked the alternate history aspects. I liked how they used Wolverine responsibly, where Wolverine wasn't the main character, but he was an important character. And the focus was still on the two different philosophies of Professor Xavier and Magneto. I liked how it tried to fix the continuity, which I appreciated. And, of course, the fact that you get to see pretty much every single major X-Man who had been mentioned in the series before. You get them all at least name-dropped, if not full-on appearances. And so let's just say that as a fan, I don't know where spoilers stand on it, because it came out like 4 to 5 months ago. But let's just say, as a fan of some X-Men who had been given the shaft by the film series, I very much enjoyed seeing them come back, and I was like, oh!
All right.
I liked it.
I thought it was a pretty good film. I saw it like 3 months after it came out in like a penny theater or whatever, but I went with my mom and my sister, and my mom loved it because she loves X-Men movies. I thought it was pretty good. My sister was slightly confused. I was really worried about the multiple timeline thing, but I thought they handled it well enough that my sister, who had never seen an X-Men movie before, totally caught on within like 30 minutes, and then I thought that was a really impressive feat on their part, because you're dealing with the two different timelines, and at the end there's like some shenanigans with how time changes a little bit, but it's interesting. So I thought they handled it really well on a technical level, at least.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I was one of those people that have not seen an X-Men movie before this one. I don't know. I guess my childhood
What?
was incomplete, but
What?
so it was interesting to get introduced to all these characters. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to know about this desolate future, but Joyce says that it's implied by X-Men 3, I believe.
Not really. Well, what do you mean by implied?
Like, well, you said it could logically follow.
Well, yeah, it's like just any. It's common knowledge in the X-Men the X-Men
No, you
universe.
have to sit close to it and sit. You have
I
to
am
point your
sitting
face
right
straight
by
into
it.
it.
I'm about as close as it all is.
It's all in the angle.
It's okay.
What?
We can still hear him on the
Is
mic.
it-
You're good.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
fix it on the
fixed it
commercial.
before during commercial break.
Okay.
Let's not do it during the
Um,
show, Sally. But yeah, no. Basically, it's kind of taken for granted in the X-Men universes that there's always the possibility that the Sentinels are going to take over and kill everybody.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, yeah, I found it was fine, but it is kind of I'm getting some superhero fatigue, honestly, which is partly why I found Guardians of the Galaxy relatively refreshing. But yeah, it was fine. It's just not that many things really stood out for me besides the 70s and the bit with the guy running really fast. That was cool.
Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
And
Real middle finger to Marvel for putting him in the Avengers.
Yeah, but that's okay.
but yeah.
It was worth it for that one shot.
Yeah.
That was just a great moment.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I give it a thumbs up. Just
I
one thumbs
too
up.
would give it a thumbs up. I saw it when it came out, which was really a pretty long time ago. If you think about it, the amount of time from when I saw it to now is longer than the amount of time from now to when I'm going to be seeing the new Hobbit, the final Hobbit. So that's kind of puts things in its perspective for you.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Franchises from 10 years ago come back.
Excuse you, 10 years. It's running on 15.
Oh no!
But I enjoyed X-Men. I had seen most of the other. I had not seen the Wolverine spin-offs, but I've seen 1, 2, and 3 and First Class, and greatly enjoyed those, and greatly enjoyed the new one. I liked the old characters coming back. I really appreciated the Wolverine scene when they like walk in. They're like, or no, I'm sorry, I'm confusing that. Never mind. But I actually watched some of First Class, which is kind of confusing to watch the two of those in the same amount of time. Because in First Class, there's a
Yeah.
great scene with Wolverine. That's a lot of fun.
Which they actually referenced in Days of Future Past, which I was both surprised and happy. They had a callback to it.
Yeah.
Once again, we have chosen a scene to talk about that we can't actually quote on the air.
It is true. But it's out there on the internet for you people who are old enough to go look at that. Kids, kids, just wait till you're 18 and then you can
Look for
learn
it, too.
cuss words. It's really just cuss words. It's nothing else. But no, I really liked the movie. The characters were all great. The president character was fantastically villainous. And Bryan Singer knocked it out of the park. And he knocked the park in the air and landed it around the president.
Yeah.
That was really something.
Can we talk about how Sir Ian McKellen looked a little bit too old for the role? For some of those shots, it looked like they kind of had to prop him up on stilts a little bit. Like, I love my Sir Ian McKellen, but
I don't know what to
Well, this
compare
was our
it to.
goodbye.
So-
They said, like, on the DVD, they had this whole subplot where Magneto and Professor Xavier have to go rescue Rogue.
yeah.
And, like, they have this whole subplot where they go fight because they're like, this is the last hurrah. So again, it was just nice to see him again. I still think he's a better Magneto than he is Gandalf. And I think I would also go so far as to say he's a better Magneto than Halle Berry is at Storm. She did not do much in the movie, and I was perfectly okay with that. I never, Storm is boring.
I like Storm in some of the, comic stories, but yeah, in the movies, pretty bland.
I mean, she's never done anything interesting that I can ever recall.
She made tornadoes. That terrified me as a young Texan, to have tornadoes spawned by not just one tornado, but a lot. Do you remember how many? You weren't. Were you a Texan at that point, Paul?
I was not a Texan.
Oh,
I was not an X-Men viewer, so I'm sorry.
Texan X-Men?
No.
Tex-X?
X-Men.
X-Men, yeah.
Well, speaking of X-Men, I believe there's some other films that were around this summer.
I guess if we want to segue towards Texas, we can talk about Chef.
Or Boyhood.
No, we're not talking about Boyhood.
No, we're done. All right. I guess we can talk about briefly Chef. We just saw it recently. It was something that had been recommended to me a lot, being from Texas, because there was a sequence where basically Jon Favreau, the director of the first two Iron Men, and a few other things that I'm forgetting.
He was almost killed in Iron Man 3.
All right. Elf. He plays a Los Angeles chef who's, kind of on the rise, but feels like he's in a creative rut because he's an artist and all this kind of thing. And he's got to get his life back on track, which involves creating a food truck and traveling from Florida and Miami to back to Los Angeles. And there's a lot of father-son bonding, which is, if that's your kind of thing, you will be satisfied. And if you like seeing people eat really good food, you will also be satisfied. And they visited several establishments, including the famous Café du Monde in New Orleans and Franklin Barbecue, I want to say, in Austin, and a couple other places. And it's delicious looking. We were all very hungry after we finished it, and then we all started thinking about our father issues. So that was fun stuff, and good cast with Jon Favreau backed up by Robert Downey Jr. for one scene, but it is a good scene. Scarlett Johansson, Dustin Hoffman, and
Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo.
It's quite a cast.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those old-fashioned movies where it's like, you like food, you like family, you like Jon Favreau's friends that are movie stars? Well, you get all of them, whether you want it or not. I thought it was a good movie. It definitely got an emotional reaction. You could see the metaphor, Jon Favreau, of trying to get back to basics after selling out to Cowboys versus Aliens. And
that was a fun movie. I like that movie. I like the Cowboys and the Aliens.
I just wish they had fought each other like in the title instead of like them attacking a mountain.
Cowboys and aliens, not Cowboys versus aliens.
Well, there's your problem right there in the title. I want to see them combined. I didn't order two separate meals.
I was not prepared for Cowboys versus Aliens. It's a completely different movie.
But it was definitely very trite at points. I mean, the father-son part was the strongest, but the first act when he's in the restaurant, because the reason why he has to find himself is he gets in this rivalry with this food critic. That dragged on for way too long in comparison to the rest of the movie. It definitely could have been cut considerably.
It was kind of unevenly paced. It was... The sense of humor changed, it was kind of on and off, but...
What are you doing with that corn? Was it cornstarch?
So there's some cornstarch jokes, there's some kind of quick cutaway jokes, like almost Family Guy style, but then it just kind of changes, and it's all fine, but just together, it could have been a little more even and shorter.
Also, the film was made in the pocket of big social media. Like, you can tell Twitter, either the writers really like Twitter, or Twitter just dumped money into it. Because, honestly, word for word, it's like, hey, son, what's Twitter? oh, Twitter's when you do this thing. And, like, they explain to you what Twitter is, what Vine is, what Facebook is, what Instagram is. And they just show it. And really, like, the whole father-son relationship is brought together by his vines. And you just see the tweets, the living tweets.
That flow through the air and
birds.
draw the people into the delicious food.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you're paranoid about social media, it
may not be for you.
Okay.
But if you like food, then you're in kind of a sticky situation.
If you like Scarlett Johansson being very useless in a film and just trading off her personality, that's also good. But if you like Robert Downey Jr. being useful and just trading off his personality, that's good too.
There you are.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Jeff.
Paul, this question just struck me. This is off topic. Did you print off tickets for Tim and Eric, or?
I did.
Okay. I think I need to figure out how to do that, because I don't think I
did
did.
At Levy. The computer works. All right, that is an aside that no one needed to hear. I'm sorry.
What? Secrets.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, it's just completely, like, we have our own agenda. We're going to visit some comedy legends this evening. But it's beside the point.
We'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Let's see. I guess we can talk about a somewhat less fulfilling comedy, A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Oh, no.
Seth MacFarlane's follow-up to Ted, and another strong cast. A lot of people that were friends with him or something, and good cameos, but completely just kind of lame formula. You know, a lot of people complain that it really has, like, almost zero resemblance to a Western besides the setting.
If your name isn't Neil Patrick Harris, you should not feel pride in the work you did on that film, unless you're one of the set designers. The look of it looked very nice, and that's why I was so sad to see it not. It was fun. Like, I didn't hate the time I spent in the cinema, but Seth MacFarlane, he is now a live-action movie star. He tried it. It doesn't work. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's just riffing for hours, it seemed like. When he was a teddy bear, he had conversations with Mark Wahlberg, but here it's like Amanda Seyfried and Charlize Theron and all of them just, like, stand there, and he's just doing his act.
Yeah, he's just kind of swapping jokes, and
despite the poor reviews, I have not seen it yet, and I still do look forward to seeing it, despite the poor reviews.
I mean,
it has some franchises you'll like.
Some good references here and there. A couple of the cameos are honestly some of the best parts of the movie. Just like having random people show up in cowboy garb.
They already ruined the Back to the Future one for me. If they left that one in there and not put it in the trailer, then if I had seen it, I would have liked it no matter what. But having seen it in the trailer... Oh, no, I saw it...
Dun, dun, dun.
What? No, it was like Ted. At the beginning of Ted, they do the Apache helicopter. And when I heard that, I decided that even if the rest of the movie was a abomination, and it wasn't, it was good. But when I heard that line, I decided that even if it was terrible, I would have liked it. So if the Back to the Future had not been spoiled in the trailer and I had seen it or will have seen it in the movie, then I feel like I would have liked it no matter what for that. But it was spoiled, so I don't know. I'm kind of in a difficult spot now. They should have left it in there for my viewing pleasure.
It is odd that they would choose to put the Back to the Future thing in the trailer.
Well, I mean, there's your selling point. Christopher Lloyd back as Doc Brown. There is one more that, especially
I know, don't tell me.
Movies. Exactly,
that's the one that I'm very excited for.
And that's at the very end of the movie.
Okay, good to know. Don't spoil it.
Okay, yeah.
Very end.
So anyway, it's not it's hard to, like, actively dislike it, I feel.
I felt a little betrayed.
Oh,
but
so
I
sad.
really liked Ted. Ted was hilarious, and it had real heart to it. This was just, why didn't the girls in high school like me? Why did I always go for jerks? I'm such a loser. Oh, this blonde likes me. Drugs, Christianity, sex, drugs, poop.
Okay.
all right.
That's the movie.
Well, I guess some people, yes, are able to.
Any other summer films before the first break,
do we
or do
wanna
you have
discuss
more
Lucy?
commentary on
Are we ready for the
A Million Ways?
Lucy?
Well, if we're all right.
Well, Lucy was a very
God.
interesting thing because I saw it my last day back home with a couple of my friends, and they kind of liked it as a dumb action movie. It's my favorite movie of the year so far, and I watched it again with Alex, Paul, and Gus. I don't know if we're waiting for Alex to come to be the mediator in opinions.
Well,
But Paul and Paul and Gus did not care for it in the slightest. Alex thought it was all right, and I still feel it holds up on viewing.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, we might hold on to that for Alex.
All right,
we'll see
hold
if he
on to it
comes
for
in and
Alex.
joins us.
If it touches all of Alex's favorite buttons.
All right, if we want to slide in one more brief discussion here.
Sure, a brief discussion.
We can just
Paul.
One of the most notable documentaries to be released this summer was Life Itself, which is all about the life of Roger Ebert, who died a year ago, a little more than a year ago. I don't remember if the director was...
The director is the guy who did Hoop Dreams.
Okay, yeah,
Stephen
that's
James?
him. Okay.
Is that a name?
So yeah, he was. I thought it was good. I mean, there's some documentaries that just go like completely above and beyond. It's absolutely mind blowing. But this, got the job done very well. He, the only really unique footage he was able to get was with Roger Ebert in his last year about before he died. So he had he already had like his jaw removed and all that kind of thing, and was in poor health, but obviously, but and then he interviews the friends from his kind of early reporter days, and it is a very interesting story, the odyssey of him and Siskel and their kind of wild personalities that get into the movie critic world and what they get up to. So, and it's it's interesting to look back because he was able to do something that I guess a lot of people kind of aspire to, like in the movie critic kind of thing. But now, I mean, the game has completely changed. So it's an interesting look back at this kind of unique, because it really depended on that newspaper system. So it's a
People
interesting
had authority back then instead of this Wild West. I'm a really big Ebert fan, so I think me and my family really liked the documentary. I thought the footage of his final days was very heartbreaking but very important, because really when you only see public figures get sick, you only get like the outside of it. And I think his story was very interesting. Like, it wasn't a flashy life necessarily. Like, he did a lot. Like, he wrote books and he wrote a movie and he went to film festivals and had his own TV show and stuff. But I mean, yeah, it is your basic documentary, but I mean, if you're a fan of Roger Ebert, I think that we do we're getting to a point in this century where we don't, we're struggling to have real artists in the cinema, but we're also struggling to have people who really know how to talk about the cinema. Like, Hollywood's kind of going into a more tentpole basis. So I feel like when a lot of people talk about movies now, we really only do talk about in tentpoles. Like, me and Paul have discussed Film Crit Hulk, for anyone who reads his stuff on IndieWire. Like, it's very good, very thoughtful stuff, but he's only analyzing, like he'll say Lego Movie is one of his favorite movies of all time, which is fine, but it's like we're not really getting cinema as an art. We're getting formula as an art. And you can ask babies, and they'll tell you that's not an art.
It depends on what formula you've been consuming, because some formula is much more delicious than others.
Okay.
There's some good stuff out there.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if you're a fan of what he does, because a lot of film criticism has just kind of become what we're doing right now, basically.
Yeah.
Which is fun, but yeah, it is unique that he was able to have that. He had a sensibility that basically I felt like I could, agree with it the vast majority of the time, and I think a lot of people could as well. So there was a kind of they talked about in the documentary how he's a populist, and he had a way of making this kind of academic stuff accessible. So that, people could learn to love movies in a new way.
I always found it so funny, you watch it, and how much other critics resented him. They were like, you're cheapening criticism. Now anyone can understand it. You're simplifying it. Which kind of bothered me, because I feel like, again, if you're not making something that's accessible, well, whatever. I mean, that's always that was my issue with Intro to Cinema a little bit. It's like, oh, we have all these fancy terms to discuss editing, and it's like, so basically you're saying editing manipulates emotions by contrasting things and cutting to certain things. Okay. Don't make yourself more important than you are. Because that's what makes cinema good, is that it is a populist medium if you're doing it right. I mean, I'm not dissing the avant-garde. They diss themselves. But
There you go.
All right, well,
if
that's
we
going to
don't
take us to our first commercial break. We will play the part of the score from the X-Men Days of Future Past film, and we will rejoin you shortly. And just a reminder, this is KXSC Radio on the airwaves at 1560 AM, on the web at kxsc.org, and on the TuneIn radio app. And this is a service of the University of Southern California. All right, enjoy some X-Men as we enjoy some X-Men as we readjust Troy's microphone.
X-Men.
And we're back after that inspirational what's that called? PSA.
PSA.
Yeah, I was gonna say PR, but there's no R in PSA.
What? Oh, no.
They changed that. But we're back to Cinephilia Radio. We're back to the all movie news radio show, and we forgot a pretty awesome segment that we could include. So we're going to do that right now, and that is that we have a number of people in the room here who have been working on some 290 films. That number is 1, because one person in this room is in that class, and that person is Ryan. So Ryan, how has what is the purpose of the project? What do you hope to achieve by it? When do we get to see it?
What's 290?
I was about to say, for those who don't know, which is probably the vast majority of people listening, if there is a vast majority listening, 290.
Hold on, let me check the. We have.
Negative
2 people
One,
not listening.
1,393.
Okay, cool.
Excellent.
All right, so whatever 3,000 people listening.
1,000.
Oh, okay.
304.
So CTPR 290 is the first proper production class in the film production kind of program. You get your hands on a pretty decent sized camera, a tripod, some sound and lighting equipment further on down the road. And so everyone's making these about 3-minute shorts in the production classes, and there are also screenwriters and critical studies kids in there too. And so Gus, who's not here today, Alex, who's not here today, but he might be here later, correct?
Yes, and he will discuss his.
And I are all in 290, and so we're shooting these 3-minute shorts. Mine was lovingly crafted around the visage of Troy Peterson, his very sleepy visage. It's about him waking up. It's very interesting.
Wake me up before you go. You never know just when you want to know. Go,
Yeah, that's not in the movie, so
I'm still pushing them to musical. Me, Paul, and Alex.
Yes, unfortunately, Gus isn't here, but we, a number of us performed in his film, which featured the part of the people we know had a prompt about a 3-minute film without no sync dialogue, which means they can't talk on camera, and there's a few other restrictions.
About the 7 deadly sins.
Yes, there was one of the prompts was the film had to be about one of the 7 deadly sins, and that's what Ryan and Gus tackled.
right.
And our screenwriter friends, Alex and Travis, were meant to do a self-portrait short with the same restrictions. That was.
Oh, is that what Travis's movie was about?
I believe so.
Okay, because I made a scavenger hunt and proposed to my girlfriend, Amber Laird. Amber Laird, if you're out there, I'm honored to be your fiancé. Thanks for finding the scavenger hunt and for letting me get back to my homework after I proposed to you. And you had to do the insert shots.
Excellent. Yeah, so, I mean, it's interesting to see the kind of things people come up with. And I'm excited to, see, especially the screenwriters, how they work with, the camera and that sort of thing. It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn things about each other that we didn't know before.
Do screenwriters know how to work camera? No, we all know
They
you know how
don't,
to
though.
work
They don't
cameras.
actually. We
On your
had to
phone.
help them.
I'm kidding.
Work their cameras.
Critical.
They were just crying the whole shoot.
Critical studies waits until the spring, so we get to sit back and see the rest of you
Flounder.
experiment, and then we'll come in and we'll know exactly what we're doing.
And then our 3-minute shorts will rule the film school, and they'll laud us. I assume that these 3-minute shorts are meant to launch us into stardom, and not as some sort of educational.
I know personally, I'm
going
getting
to-
all kinds of offers from people.
Oh yeah, they're all going straight to Sundance.
CAA is coming to the school next Friday just to recruit me from my hitting alarm clocks with socks.
There you go.
I call them alarm clock socks.
Call it an alarm sock.
And now we're rambling.
Right, mine's about. Mine was around the deadly sin sloth, I guess. So he was very lazy and didn't want to hit an alarm clock, so he hits it with a sock.
Is it true that you didn't actually have to get a performance out of your actor? He was just so used to sloth that.
Yeah, Troy Peterson is pretty good at looking sleepy.
A modern
He was quite
master.
good. Yes. In fact, when I needed him to be like upset and angry in a shot, he had to break through the sleepy mold. But
Did you
he
take
did
one of
it.
his cream sodas?
I did not. But that would have done the trick, I think.
That would have done the trick.
Paul's paying for the next batch of cream sodas because he drank like half of them.
I didn't.
Go
Anyway.
on.
We're offered
Anyway.
for free. I will say that.
I didn't expect,
true.
yeah, but at a certain point.
Yeah,
It's
that's
roommate politics for all the kids out there.
yeah.
It gets rough. Well,
Speaking of roommate politics, Gus and I were both filming in the same apartment at the same time on the
It's
same
true.
day. So
Brian filmed his whole one in the time it took for Gus to get one shot done.
that is true.
To be
This is
entirely
a-
fair, it was a hard shot.
And it involved
the
Paul and Rob
actor
giving their advice on the
was
shot.
no, not in the slightest.
I only gave advice when asked.
That is absolutely
So,
true.
Director is in charge. You gotta,
Ignore the actor who was in the other room during the shooting.
Yeah.
especially if you might need him in the subsequent shot. Anyway,
Should we move on to
so,
some news?
some news
About
in
the
the world
cinema?
of the world of cinema. Should we try the opening?
Oh, yes, of
do we have
Paul's
course.
so excited for the opening, but we don't
yeah.
even know if we burnt it in the fire.
Oh, can we?
No, we do it live.
Oh.
We've
okay.
always done it live.
Oh, boy.
So.
Yeah,
Oh
we
yeah,
haven't.
I've actually never done this. So
Oh,
this
boy.
will be,
This'll be
All right, get
Um,
ready.
Okay.
What are we doing?
All right.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Movie
Movie
news with
Paul.
Paul.
And then I say, "That's me." And now it started.
What just happened?
So we'll try it next time.
That was pretty good. I think we did great.
I did like the barbershop intro. Like that's pretty great.
All right, let's
Okay, so the actual one is. I had a few things that are interesting pop up last. I'll just run through the quick stuff first. Among the technology announcements this Tuesday included the iPhone 6, which is kind of the only thing that's really relevant to the cinema discussion. But it is a significantly improved phone camera that is going to affect a lot of people out there because it is what they always say the most popular video camera out there. That's they already killed Flip, and now they might kill GoPro because they it's possible. Yeah, GoPro's still got its niche, but it is possible because the iPhone 6 is now up to 240 frames per second at, I believe, 720p.
Yeah.
Now, the most advanced GoPro can do 240 frames per second in standard definition. That's as fast as it'll go. And it's very grainy. I've tried it. So that's something that's going to change things up. And then also, if you get the 6 Plus, and these phones will come out in like a couple of weeks, I think.
Like 1 week.
Yeah. The 6 Plus actually has optical image stabilization, not digital, which means when you shake the camera, the lens is actually on suspension. Like it'll, so, a lot of good video cameras have that. And this is stuff that's going to significantly affect, people's kind of home movies if you whip out your phone for that kind of thing. So, putting more power in the hands of the consumers. And also, speaking of lenses, on
The iPhone 6s go on pre-sale today. They're a sponsor of the show, so Tim, thanks for shooting us the.
Thanks for the watch. I love it.
We were all given free U2 albums to do this show
today. I don't know
today.
how watches work. This is awkward for me.
Anyway,
There's a little Mickey Mouse tapping his foot.
I'm excited for that watch though.
Right.
Except the watch does not have anything having to do with watch. The watch does not watch by means of a camera. What I'm saying is there's no camera on the watch.
That's one of the biggest missing things about.
But that's fine. That's fine. I can use my phone or my Google Glass.
It's interesting stuff. We'll see how this kind of thing plays out. Anyway, speaking of lenses on the complete opposite end of the scale, Carl Zeiss has come out with the Otis 85mm lens, which is the second edition. First they had the 55mm. These are different focal lengths. Look it up. But these two lenses are the most optically perfect lenses that have been made. Like, there are certain technical things people look out for, including like color fraying, distortion in the perspective, and how flat is the focal plane. It's all kind of things that cinematographers look for, and now they've met their match apparently.
I assume this is excluding like space grade lenses.
I mean, yeah, this is stuff that you could buy. Like, it's not
price range.
I think this new one runs about $4,500.
That's not bad.
Which is honestly, there are some Arri lenses that are, to get a good zoom lens, these are primes.
Yeah.
To get a good zoom lens, I mean, there are some that go to like $30,000.
Yeah.
It's substantial. So honestly, for the high-end shooter out there, they're looking at some significant image quality going on with these Zeiss lenses. And all right, since we're knocking out some technical stuff, apparently somebody just figured this out, but there was a recent post that for people out there that are editing, if you're using, they compared exporting H.264, which is kind of the standard consumer grade compression. If you download something off iTunes, that's what it's compressed at. Anyway, they tried exporting the exact same video with the same specifications in Final Cut Pro and Premiere, and they realized that the Premiere version, for some reason, is significantly blockier. Like, it's there's more compression artifacts. Like if you go on YouTube and sometimes your internet connection cuts out and it gets really low quality, that's the kind of thing that people look for when they're exporting. So it's something to be aware of. You can see the tests online if you look it up. But, just for the editors out there, you may want to keep it less compressed to preserve your movie, so it doesn't look bad. Anyway,
okay.
A little more fun stuff.
Yeah.
There was a picture of the Batmobile on the internet.
Yep.
Several, I think 3 or 4.
3? Oh, wow.
Because there were like,
I only saw the one. That's cool.
there were like 2 like unofficial ones, and then somebody came out with the actual picture. It's apparently heavily inspired by the design from Arkham Knight video game, from what I understand.
Joey plays that. Joey, if you're listening, we mentioned we mentioned a game that you play.
Yeah, Joey.
Yeah, Joey.
Who's Joey?
He's everyone's best
My
friend.
little brother.
Come on, Ryan.
Oh, hey, Joey. What's up, Joey?
Anyone feel that the car is going to be the most well-developed character in this movie?
We'll have to wait.
what they said about Knight Rider.
Yeah, it looks fine. It's kind of, again, it's kind of following the whole thinking process I think they're doing, which is just kind of like one step lighter than Nolan for Batman, and then like 10 steps darker than Donner for Superman. So
Batman's going to be the positive one in the Justice League this time around.
Yeah.
Come on, Superman! Fight me off!
Batman's going to teach.
Gun down in front of you. You just saw your dad get stabbed. It's going to push. Your other dad gets sucked up by a tornado.
Yep. Batman's going to teach people how to not snap necks.
Oh, by the way, I've been underscoring your conversation with the Batman TV theme song. And I'd also like to bring to your attention that there is a Carl's Jr. a block and a half away from the Ace Hotel Theater.
And on that note, when are we going to get pictures of Aquaman?
That is
It's really hard to get the cameras underwater.
Zack Snyder, like,
That's the most difficulty they're having right now.
This is actually
And
pretty
on that
interesting.
note, I'm heading out actually.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Sorry, I
good
have
to
to
have you,
leave
Ryan.
for the
Alex,
game jam.
thanks for being
Thank
here.
you, Paul. I'm
You're
not
welcome,
Alex.
Ryan. You won't get to hear
While
this
Ryan's
awesome
leaving, we're
story
sticking
about
around for
Aquaman.
15
I will
more minutes.
tell once
This is also good
we're not
opportunity for us to
talking
play
over
our PSA before Ryan steps out in the great beyond. Ryan,
Oh, but I
good
love
luck with the
PSA.
rest of your 290.
Thank you very much.
Let us know when it's done so we can watch it.
Cool. Yeah, should be this weekend.
Anyway, so Zack Snyder and Aquaman. So there was this morning show in Detroit. What you're talking about? Aquaman's super tough. Like, he's a badass. Like, he has like a trident. Like, that trident, if he used it, he could like draw Superman's blood. And the people are like, excuse me, is this Zack Snyder? Yeah, I'm Zack Snyder. So we take it you're confirming Aquaman will be in Batman v Superman. He's like, no. Because it's not been officially confirmed yet, even though DC Comics has registered the online domain names AquamanMovie.com and WonderWomanMovie.com. So again, for all you Flash fans out there, he is not as marketable as Intense Aquaman.
Just gonna have to live with a TV show, I guess.
Yep.
It's not out yet. I don't
No,
think.
it's coming out this fall. It's going to be interesting. I want to see it. That and Arrow look really good. Also, in other Marvel news, Andrew Garfield and Mark Ruffalo
Yes.
do funny things, and so
Well,
With our
okay, we got a little
with
short
our
on
last
time, so I
10
think-
minutes,
Okay.
what are the must covers for the last
Okay, there's a couple of interesting things. Actually, yeah. Okay, honestly, this is very interesting. And I had no idea. Like, I haven't even seen this on the news that much, except for like a couple of blogs. But there's a series of short films that are about Pikmin, the Nintendo game, that are official from Nintendo. Like, they've been like approved by them, and some animators from Studio Ghibli worked on them. They're showing at the Tokyo International Film Festival. They're calling it a quote-unquote research project. But basically, this is the first official Nintendo movie kind of thing since the 1993 Super Mario Brothers. Apparently, this is, I mean, it's a very famous story, but like that film was apparently a completely horrible experience for absolutely everyone involved and everyone that saw it. This is the general story. So, and the assumption was that Nintendo would never again make any movies based on its work, even though people were begging for Zelda and there's a few others.
Zelda would translate pretty easily, I think. Link
Yeah.
is Peter Pan. I mean, I'd pay to see that.
So, that's the kind of thing that, yeah, and there's so many different versions, like they're all like kind of different tones and like styles, and
What if they do a
So-
Super Smash Bros. Movie and it's just an hour and a half replay of like an hour and a half Smash Bros. Game?
there you
And
go.
the worst part is the part with the fan. Stop it! Stop with the fan.
Yeah,
that
I'm
fan.
pretty good with the fan. I'm sorry.
But
what
anyway,
you're
so this is, yeah, for anybody out there that has spent their lives waiting for a Zelda movie or something like that, Nintendo is warming up. So your prayers might be answered someday.
To your Nintendo god.
So that's most of the movie news I think we need to cover. I think at this point we may need to talk about some of the recent independent films the two gentlemen here were privileged to see in their critical studies class.
How should we
featuring the
go
one and
about
only.
this?
Yes.
Go by each film and just really quickly.
Let's just describe the class.
Well, the class we're taking right now is CTCS 466 Theatrical Film Symposium, arguably the most popular class in USC, which is why mainly seniors who aren't cinema majors are in the class of us, and Julia Johnson.
Julia Johnson!
And so yeah, Leonard Maltin. Now that Roger Ebert's dead, I would argue definitively the most famous American film critic,
Sure.
is the teacher. And basically, we have like a free-form lecture by him where we talk about the movie last week and what we thought of it. He talks about some things that are important to him. We watch an old short subject. We've watched Popeye and Robert Benchley and stuff like that, and he gives historical context on that, which, if you know how I feel about old cartoons and old comedy, is fantastic. Then we watch a new movie, and then we get a person who worked on the film. Usually, so far, we've had producers, a director-producer, and a director/screenwriter also responsible for the Hannah Montana movie, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a Q&A with them, and we all leave a little happier about ourselves and more understanding of the filmmaking world.
It is very true.
All right, so
last
the first
night,
film you saw.
we discussed
okay.
Space Station 76, and we've discussed God Help the Girl last week. Or I kind of threw those in.
For my quick reviews of the two.
Quick
Space
reviews.
Station 76, I think you should search out. It's my favorite so far. It's like a sci-fi movie, but it talks about the normal people behind the scenes. So it's kind of a 70s aesthetic soap opera. I really liked it. It felt very human and very original. God Help the Girl, I was the only person in class who spoke up. Maybe one other person spoke out against it, but I didn't much care for it. It was kind of a twee, hot mess. Like, just a lot of elements all over the place. I didn't feel the actors had a strong moral core. So that's where I stood on those two movies. So do we want to seek into Hector and the...
Yeah, last night we saw Hector and the Search for Happiness. It's based on a French book directed by Peter Chalsom, as we said, is the director of the Hannah Montana movie, but also some other good independent stuff from the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. It stars Simon Pegg and Rosamund Pike, who we will be seeing again in about 3 weeks in Gone Girl, playing what I believe to be a much better character than the character she played last night. But it was a consistent, likable character. But her Gone Girl character, from the trailers at least, is very good.
But then I saw Tyler Perry and David Fincher were associated with Gone Girl, and my expectations plummeted dramatically. Tyler Perry, really?
Well, unlike Troy, Paul and I are very much excited for the Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, David Fincher collaboration. But the movie last night was good. The reviews were terrible, actually, from what I saw after seeing it.
Really?
They were very vocally against the bland sort of blanket racial things that happened as they went to the different countries. They did not like how British it was, which I guess is kind of an unrealistic expectation going into it. I wouldn't give it as bad a review as they did, but they gave voice to some of the misgivings I had throughout the film. But yeah, it was a good film. I liked Walter Mitty better. It's very Walter Mitty, and I think that also hurts it, is how similar it is to Walter Mitty. Because I did like Walter Mitty better. Walter Mitty, I guess maybe because it was more American, but also because it didn't spell out the things that he was thinking. However, this one had a motif of flying, and I love flying. I love planes, and I said to Troy beforehand that if it featured planes, I would like it, so I will not go back on that statement. It featured planes, and I enjoyed that.
All I can report is the audience last night laughed, we cried, it was a complete emotional adventure. It is very generic. The Chinese monk is a Chinese monk, and the director, someone basically asked him, how do you deal with all these stereotypes? Because there's like Tibetan monk, African warlords, blonde people living in LA. I mean, come on. And they have pools. What was this nonsense they're trying to sell us? Christopher Plummer looked like Meg from Family Guy in it. That's worth price of admission alone. But yeah, no. He said he directed the Tibetan monk to be a little less old, a little less Chinese, and a little less monk. And we're fine. But no, I thought Simon Pegg gave, it definitely is kind of a movie. You know what you're getting going in. But it is a movie I think people need. You'll get your money's worth. It was, as he pointed out, a more faithful Tintin movie than the actual Tintin movie. So if you like that sense of young European adventure. And it was a complete adventure. It was not as original as Space Station 76. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So it's A-. But I was entertained. I was inspired. You'll like the characters. You'll like yourself for seeing it. Put money towards it. And it had interesting effects. Animation was very well integrated. And yeah, Paul is looking at his phone right now.
So. Oh yeah, we are moving to the end. We have
right about
a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to add? In Hitchcock this week, we saw The Lady Vanishes and Sabotage, and we're going to see 3 more tomorrow. So we'll kind of come back with
Walt
those
Disney's
next week.
Only contribution to the Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Oeuvre.
Who?
Oeuvre. We're smart.
Anything else to add?
Well,
I guess this is a good time to note that following this show, Paul and I and Alex, who didn't flip and show up for the show, are going to be making our way to the Ace Hotel Theater downtown Los Angeles to watch the Tim and Eric and Dr. Stephen Brule live stage show.
Yes. I'm very excited. They are some comedians that we've been turned on to just in the past year or so. They're, if you don't know them and you're interested in some pretty out there humor, you might want to start with their movie, The $1 Billion Movie, which I believe is still on Netflix
And Amazon Prime.
Yes.
For free. They're giving it away.
It's probably their most accessible film. It's like a kind of a...
Do we remember the Leonard Maltin review of that one?
No, I don't know.
I believe it was something long. Wait, maybe it was the Ebert review.
The Ebert review gave it like his lowest rating. He's like, this movie isn't even worthy of being in my worst of the worst books. Like, it's just not even a film.
It has cameos from pretty much all their favorite people, including Chef Jeff Goldblum.
Like Jeff. Will Ferrell's in it.
Will Ferrell.
John C. Reilly
is usually playing Dr. Stephen Brule, but in the film he plays Taquito.
Zach Galifianakis, Ray Wise,
Will Forte.
Will Forte isn't probably my favorite.
Is a legend. So many classic moments. Honestly, it's very entertaining.
Thanks for betraying us, Alan.
So many moments.
Yeah. So see it if you're not in a mental. If you're not in a mental institution, see it. If you see it, you'll end up in the mental institution. I think that's the correct.
That's the funnel.
So I don't know how they're going to translate this into a live stage show.
We're very interested because so much of their work depends on editing
90s videos
and video aesthetic. It is fascinating how visually distinctive they are, which is it's unusual for comedy because it's just writers and that's it.
Yeah.
They take their time.
Yeah.
You'll get a visual experience when you watch a Tim and Eric presentation. So yes, it's gonna be very interesting, and we'll be sure to report back.
Yeah, we will report back if we make it back.
And I'm going to Easy Rider, where unlike Tim and Eric, it's about two guys who needed drugs to make movies. Unlike Tim and Eric, who I believe are completely sober.
I believe you need drugs to view their movies. I believe that's the best.
I think
that's what I've been told is the best way to view them.
Joe Kelly is the main drug-addled character in the film. Zach Galifianakis. He appears in the clouds. He gives them advice. He takes all their money, and it's just perfect. So,
all right. Well,
on that note,
remember when Gus was skeptical of showing that film to us?
It is just three boys in here.
It is,
and the two horses are going off to
pigtails.
to the movie. All right, so this has been KXSC Radio, 1560 AM, KXSC.org, and on your TuneIn Radio app. By the way, if you're listening on the TuneIn Radio app, props to you. Well done. Otherwise, everybody else, thanks also for listening in. This has been Cinephilia Radio. We'll be back again next week at 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. London. So thanks for joining. Drive safe and enjoy Brave Souls from Dolphin Tale 2 as we leave you this afternoon.
I'm Morgan Freeman, and I endorse this Dolphin Tale 2.